What if, and hear me out here, a single thought could literally turn into a fortune? Well, that's exactly what Napoleon Hill set out to discover when he studied 500 millionaires. He basically reverse-engineered their success and uncovered 13 distinct principles that anyone, and I mean anyone, can follow to achieve incredible success. So today, this explainer is going to hand you the exact step-by-step playbook to start applying those principles right now. Okay, let's dive into this.
So, we're compartmentalizing Hill's 13 principles into 4 specific building phases. First, building the mental foundation. Then, crafting the master plan, followed by the push for momentum, and finally, unlocking your highest potential. Oh, and stick around because at the very end, we're going to face a final boss that threatens to collapse this entire structure.
All right, Phase 1, building the mental foundation. This is where everything begins. We're talking about the internal mindset you absolutely need before you take a single physical step. It all boils down to 3 crucial principles: desire, faith, and autosuggestion. Take a guy named Edwin C. Barnes, for example. He had literally no money, 0 connections, and no special skills. But he had a burning, crystal-clear desire to become Thomas Edison's business partner. The guy jumped on a freight train to New Jersey and took a super low-level job just to get inside the building. He waited years for his moment, seized an opportunity to sell Edison's dictating machine, and finally earned that partnership. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Hill's exact 6-step formula for creating that kind of unstoppable desire. You don't just vaguely wish for things, right? First, you decide your exact goal. Second, you pick the precise price you'll pay in time or effort. Then, you set a hard deadline. Number 4, you write a plan. 5, you condense it all into one clear written statement. And 6, you read it twice daily, every single day.
Because look, once desire says, I want it, faith steps in and says, it's already mine. A perfect modern example of this is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Back in 1995, he was cut from football and found himself sitting in his car with exactly $7 to his name. $7. But he anchored himself to the concept of faith. He believed he was absolutely destined for something bigger before he could even see it. He rebuilt his entire life, pushing through insane amounts of rejection, simply because he saw his goal so vividly that it felt real long before it ever actually showed up.
But how do you actually lock that belief into place? Well, that's autosuggestion. In the early 90s, Jim Carrey was completely flat broke. So what did he do? He wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered, dated it 5 years in the future, and kept it in his wallet every single day. And get this, almost exactly 5 years later, he scored a $10 million paycheck for his role in Dumb and Dumber. See, your subconscious mind doesn't argue with you. It doesn't debate. It just absorbs whatever is repeated with consistency and deep emotion.
Moving on to Phase 2, crafting the master plan.
Now we shift gears. We're turning that locked-in internal belief into an external strategy using knowledge, imagination, and planning. First up, we've got to contrast general knowledge with specialized knowledge. Back in 1919, a newspaper actually called Henry Ford an ignorant idealist. So Ford sued them for libel. When the opposing lawyers tried to embarrass him on the stand with basic historical trivia, Ford just smiled. He told them that if he really wanted to answer their foolish questions, he had a row of electric push buttons on his desk to summon men who actually knew the answers. It's kind of like Steve Jobs in modern times, right? Jobs wasn't a master engineer, but he had a crystal clear vision. You don't need to know every little thing. You just need organized, targeted skills aimed directly at a definite goal.
And to apply those skills, you need imagination to pave the road. Hill breaks it down into 2 types here in the table. First is synthetic imagination. That's combining existing concepts in totally new ways. Think of Airbnb. They basically took air mattresses and merged them with an online platform. Boom. Then there's creative imagination. These are your brand new flashes of insight, like Velcro. An engineer literally noticed tiny hooks on dog burrs after a hike and created a completely brand new fastening system out of it. Both kinds of imagination can create massive fortunes, but obviously only if you actually act on them.
Which leads us straight into organized planning. Look at Netflix. They started out by mailing DVDs, but they saw the future, planned for it, pivoted to streaming, and eventually created their own original shows. So the crucial point is that a clear, step-by-step organized plan allows you to adapt to defeat, because let's face it, defeat is really just feedback. You structure this by defining your outcome metric, breaking down the key steps, translating those into weekly actions, mapping out your resources, scheduling the work, and then reviewing it weekly. That structure right there, that's what keeps you moving forward when things get messy.
All right, Phase 3, the push for momentum. Listen, a flawless plan is completely useless without the momentum to actually execute it, and that requires decision, persistence, and the mastermind. Back in 1914, Henry Ford completely shocked the business world with a radical decision. He started paying his factory workers $5 a day. Now that was almost double the going rate. The experts thought it was going to bankrupt him, but Ford didn't flinch. He made the decision fast and he held the line. And guess what? Productivity absolutely skyrocketed and turnover totally collapsed. The takeaway? Successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Procrastination is literally the ultimate enemy of momentum.
And once you make that decision, the world is absolutely going to test you. During the gold rush, a guy named Darby gave up and sold all his mining equipment after the gold just seemingly ran out. Well, the junk dealer who bought his gear hired an engineer and discovered that Darby had stopped just 3 feet from the richest vein of gold in the entire mine. 3 feet. Persistence is a state of mind that absolutely refuses to stop, no matter how ridiculously tough the obstacles get.
To build that unbeatable state of mind, you need a clear purpose and a burning desire, backed by rock-solid self-belief, a definite plan, and accurate knowledge. Add in cooperation, willpower, and habit, and you are pretty much unstoppable. Actually, let me break the fourth wall for a quick second and ask you directly, what project are you about to drop right now that could be just 3 feet from gold? Seriously, don't quit right before the compounding starts.
And remember, you don't have to push through all of this alone. Listen to this quote for a second. 2 or more people working in harmony toward a definite purpose create a third, invisible force. It's powerful stuff. Think of the Wright brothers achieving human flight. These guys were bicycle mechanics, okay? Not wealthy engineers. But when one of them got discouraged, the other stayed optimistic. That's the mastermind principle in action. Aligned minds literally multiply your horsepower, creating this incredible current of energy and courage that is just vastly greater than any single person.
Which brings us to Phase 4, unlocking your highest potential.
This is the elite mental mastery phase. We're diving deep into transmutation, the subconscious, the brain, and the sixth sense. Let's talk about kind of a bold concept, sex transmutation. In 1974, Muhammad Ali was the underdog against George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali didn't just train his body physically. He cut out every single distraction, highly disciplined his life, and poured all of his physical and raw, emotionally charged human energy into one singular, highly productive purpose: winning that fight. Channeling this kind of primal energy amplifies your creativity and persistence to levels most people can't even comprehend.
That highly charged energy actually acts as rocket fuel for your subconscious mind, which serves as the bridge between your desire and reality. We see Hill's concept at work in modern athletes all the time. Take Michael Phelps before the 2008 Olympics. He visually programmed his mind with every tiny detail of his race. He even visualized what would happen if his goggles filled with water. And when that exact nightmare scenario happened during the final, he didn't panic. His body automatically swam the perfect race and won gold, all because his subconscious had been programmed with so much emotion and repetition that it just naturally took over.
This works because your brain basically acts exactly like a radio. It sends out these strong emotional signals and, in return, receives flashes of insight. It filters reality through selective attention, which means you suddenly start seeing opportunities everywhere. And when you connect with other minds, like Jobs and Wozniak did in that famous garage, those signals multiply. And this brilliantly illustrates how mastering all these previous steps unlocks what Hill calls the sixth sense. It's pure, unadulterated intuition. It's that gut pull where the right moves just seem to appear effortlessly.
Finally, conquering the 6 fears.
Because here's the thing. Before you can truly wield this incredible playbook, we have to confront the climax of this explainer, the final boss. If left completely unchecked, this enemy will cause all 13 principles we just built to instantly collapse. Hill calls them the 6 ghosts of fear: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Now, these aren't always loud, obvious panics. No, they're dimensional, creeping obstacles that quietly whisper excuses right into your ear. They tell you to wait for the perfect time, or they gently nudge you toward the safe path. But successful people, they don't wait. They act while these ghosts are still whispering. Because fear is just a liar that kills dreams before they're even born.
So I want to leave you with a provocative challenge today. Will you let fear run your life, or will you take the first step today? It's time to burn the ships. Decide exactly what you want, start right where you are with exactly what you have, and build the life you truly want. The choice is yours.